In the Cape Floristic region, less than 2% of fynbos and renosterfelt vegetation types are formally conserved. These are some of the most threatened types of vegetation in the world. Tourist operators and other residents of the Agulhas Wine Triangle are concerned about a prospecting application to mine. Over 80% of all prospecting applications are approved, and then a mining right will follow, and this, they fear, will certainly lay waste to critically endangered fynbos and renosterfelt. Residents, local tourism and farming in the region worry about the destruction that would be wrought by open-cast mining, which they say will alter this pristine conservation region for generations. If approved, a company called Scienth will have exclusive rights for 30 years to explore about 4,200 hectares of farmland, with the intention of creating an enormous open-cast mine for gold, silver and tin ore. The envisaged mine could potentially rip through the Overberg, generating noise pollution that will distress animals, kick up dust plumes that will coat crops on adjacent farms, and cause acid mine drainage.
During August 2023, another application for a prospecting right was submitted by a newly appointed environmental assessment practitioner, being Nuwejaars Environmental Consultants. And this application was accepted by the regional manager of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. So yes, at this stage, the application has been accepted by the regional manager, but no party or interested and affected party has received any documentation from the EAP, the Environmental Assessment Practitioner.
So in terms of the implications environmentally, it is quite extensive, because we understand that it's open cast mining, which is not deep shaft mining. It is an open space where the indigenous flora, the ferrocrete fynbos is just devastated and taken away to expose the earth for mining purposes.
Developers, conservationists, members of the public, you all need to understand that if a site-specific development impacts on freshwater, whether it's in a river or flowing underground, from the mountain catchments, down the rivers, into the estuaries and via the vital link of the estuary mouth into the ocean, then you impact on a massive ecological cycle. It's really important that this is understood and all this information is included in any site-specific proposal.
Mining needs water to wash and to clean, to get their product out of the earth. Watercourses are the lifeblood of this ecosystem that's trying to survive here. There's fish in this ecosystem that's been described, that's unique to our area, it's endemic to our area and the Kutch River system. And if they are impacted, we lose an endemic species which is found nowhere else in the world.
The Agulhas Plain is a very interesting and complex system. It's very flat, and it's the southernmost and also one of the biggest freshwater systems in South Africa. We have concerns that mining upriver, because all these systems are interlinked, could contaminate the critically endangered and nationally important wetlands downstream, which eventually flow into De Mont, which is a Ramsar protected area.
The area that's proposed by the mining operation contains threatened fynbos and renosterfelt types, which there's less than 3 to 5% remaining. Within these little fragments that's left, there's plants and animals, organisms that is unique, that's endemic, and species found nowhere else in the world. And that makes this area super crucial from a biodiversity conservation point of view for our country and our region.
In the Overberg we have 4 different kinds of renosterfelt, generally found on the more clayey, fertile, shale-based soils. And the biggest concern is that over 90% of it has been converted to agriculture in the region. So there's very little left, all on privately owned land. And it's an incredibly diverse and severely threatened ecosystem.
So one of the main issues on the West Coast especially, and it seems like now this is spreading to other parts of South Africa, is the ad hoc nature of all these permits being granted by the DMRE. You know, there's been no holistic overview, no study done. This is one of the things that Protect the West Coast is pushing for, a moratorium on mining, so that a strategic environmental assessment can be done to the wider overarching impacts of all these mines that are, intruding basically in people's backyards now. It's gone from out of sight, out of mind, way up the West Coast to the lower West Coast, and now the Overberg.
The Overberg is one of our bread baskets of the country. So with all the dust that's created, and the wind blows in that area 362 days a year, and all the dust will settle on the grains like oats and barley and wheat, and of course vineyards, and that stunts the vineyards' growth. It affects the quality, and who wants to sit next to a mining excavation and taste wine.
Ek is baie gelukkig met die myn wat nou die kant by ons in industrie in die Strandveld sal kom hê, want dit gaan maak nou dat mense hulle werk verloor. Ons gaat nie meer toerisme gaat nie meer by ons restaurante en wynproewe en sulke goede kan wees nie, so ja, ons is glad nie baie gelukkig daarmee nie.
The miners will tell you it brings economic stimulus to the community and jobs, but the reality is it brings very few jobs, and the knock-on effects of economically of mining in any particular time, which we've seen on the West Coast, are minimal, they're negligible. A few people get jobs and there's a few supply chain suppliers that, might have petrol stations, whatever in the town, but most of the mines employ people from elsewhere and bring them in. Most of the jobs that they provide are like security, low-level jobs that are temporary, and that's one of the key things with this mining is the lack of sustainability. Mining is a finite extractive industry that doesn't bring long-term sustainable economic growth to any area that it goes in. It's very exploitative, and it's something that really should be stopped most of the time.
So once a prospecting right or a mining right has been granted, the holder of the right has the right to access the property with the consent from the landowner. And if the landowner refuses access to the property, as the mineral belongs to the state, the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, they can invoke the provisions in terms of expropriation. So therefore it's very important that a right is not granted over your property.
Most often these guys will come into an area with a nice, highly biodiverse ecosystem. They won't rehabilitate it. So they'll leave for whatever reason. This is not well policed. This is, something that we've seen time and time again up the West Coast and elsewhere in the country, in Namibia as well, where they don't bother to rehabilitate.
Ons het groot bekommernis oor 'n prospekteringsaansoek wat ons tans mee sit hier in ons Napier area. Hier's 'n klompie boere wat se grond geoormerk word vir prospektering, en het ons groot bekommernis oor 'n paar boere wat hulle grond gaan verloor en die groot kopseer rondom ons wat al geslagte aankom op die grond, en van ons is nuwe eienaars en moes hard werk om die grond te koop, gaan ons dit nou net eenvoudig sal moet verkoop. Een van die bekommernisse is die groot impak wat dit gaan hê op ons kleingraan, nie net op die boere wat se grond in beslag is nie, maar die basiese radius van 20 km rondom. Die gebied waar hulle beoog om te prospekteer is in die hartjie van die opvangsgebied van die Karsrivier, wat dan baie van die boere se watervoorsiening is vir hulle veesuipings, en die Karsrivier loop ook dan deur 'n groot deel van die Overberg tot aan die ander kant Bredasdorp, waar dan 'n groot gebied gaan affekteer.
So with the impact on agriculture, there's a potential of job losses. And of course then, with all these other workforce that's coming into the area to mine, there's also a security issue for especially the farmers.
The labour will come from outside of the town and not actually focus on labour within the town. This will increase our population here, putting more strain on the infrastructure, resulting in possibly many people coming seeking jobs in the area without finding jobs, increasing your crime in the area, affecting your property market. This means, if I look at the trends on most mining towns, the property market takes an increase initially and then takes a dive within a 2-year period.
We as a committee are very concerned, as a Napier Heritage Conservation body, that there will be a repeat of what's happened in towns like Rustenburg and Leidenburg, which is detrimental, I think, to the whole ethos of the Overberg, and to preserve it as a destination for tourists. By preserving heritage and the natural environment, we're not doing it for ourselves, we are doing it for future generations.
And we are very, very concerned about our wine tourism offering, wine farms, the accommodation facilities that we've been working hard at as in creating a destination, but we've been told that the smallest sample of excavation will be the size of 300 rugby fields. It's evident that this area is not actually suitable for mining. One of our members, Jonathan, that owns Skipskop in Napier, is actually a geologist, and he mines gold in the Congo. And when he bought the farm 20 years ago, he actually found out that there was a prospecting in the area in the 1800s by a London company, and they found nothing. And if there are traces of it, they'll have to really turn up the entire area. to find something. So we are slightly confused as to why this company sees the potential of mining for these minerals in this area that's not geologically suitable.
The feeling that we get is that this is going to be a long battle. We need everybody from this community to get involved. At this early point in the process, we would just like to encourage everybody in the landscape to register as an interested and affected party and to be involved with the process. We need to ensure that everyone's voice is heard, whether you're indirectly or directly affected by this. At some point it's going to impact the entire landscape. You can register as an interested and affected party, and therefore any studies that are done, any environmental studies that are done would be forwarded to you as a registered affected party, and you will then have the opportunity to scrutinize those reports and comment on them. Don't be put off by the fact that these might be reports that are written at a certain level which may not be familiar to you. There are going to be lots of people helping the public through this process. It doesn't matter that you feel you can or can't have a say, or whether your voice is valuable. We need as many people involved in this process.
Together we can really beat this. If we allow this to go ahead, another one will come, and this will not end. And this will be disrupting our environment, whether it's our agricultural society or our wine tourism industry. We should stand together and prevent this happening.